Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rake the Take, a golf betting podcast hosted by me, Chris Lewis. And this week we're going to be talking about the Shriners Children Open at TPC Summerlin, close to Las Vegas. But yeah, TPC Summerlin is one of the shorter courses on the PGA Tour. It plays around, just a little bit over 7,000 yards. So obviously a lot of the shorter hitters on tour can compete there, and it's a par 71. The final scores typically go around 21 to 24 under par at the Shriners, and you can kind of see a high variability in terms of the quality of winner here. You can get some, the best players on tour like a Cantlay, DeChambeau, a Tom Kim to win here, or you can go as far back as somebody like a Martin Laird to be a surprise winner. So there are a lot of different types of golfers that can contend and play well at this course. I would say it's not very penal off the tee. There are some water hazards around in the closing back nine and things like that, but those typically are more hazardous when you are hitting on the approach shots. But yeah, because the fairways are pretty wide and you have some waste areas, the off the tee accuracy is not the most important skill set this week. So you really want to be kind of dialed in mainly on approach, because you want to have a lot of easy pars and decent looks at birdie throughout the week. There are a lot of elevated greens, some thick rough, some large bunkers. So chipping and sand saving are important skill sets in general for this week. Typically from around 125 to 175 yards, that's where you're going to find the biggest distribution of your approach shots. But yeah, bogey avoidance is going to be paramount, because most of the people are going to be really aiming to rack up a lot of birdies this week. There are some high winds, that being said. So there are some areas of the course where you could expect some more difficult conditions, depending on the time, because especially in the late afternoon on Thursday, there are going to be some high winds up to around like high 10s, low 20s miles an hour. So some of the golfers are going to have to be prepared for that. And I think there's a little bit more consistent wind for the rest of the field on the weekends. But yeah, having an early tee time this week is going to be important. But yeah, kind of going over. That was going over the course a little bit. I just wanted to kind of detail what it's like to play at TPC Summerlin. And I really only have one pick for this week. Typically I have a lot of people that I want to bet, but I'm trying to narrow it down more, and kind of give maybe a little bit more of a more specific people that I'm looking at rather than kind of a shotgun approach. But I'm very confident in Eric Cole this week. He checks a lot of the boxes that I'm looking for. He's one of the best approach players in the world, one of the best around the green players in the world. He's a great putter. And those are things that I'm really looking at this week. Even though he is a fairly weak off the tee player, it's not that he's pretty average off the tee in terms of distance, but it's just that he sprays it around so much. But at this course, I'm not really thinking that's going to be a huge detriment. I think he's going to be able to overcome that with his quality approaching and around the greens. But he also has some good history here. Even though his first start, he missed the cut, I'm kind of writing that off because that was his third start of his PGA Tour career. He hadn't really got on to good form yet. It was kind of way before he had really kind of contended at the Honda, which I would say is probably the first event where most PGA Tour fans really got to learn who Eric Cole is. And after that, he was kind of in the picture for the most of the 2023 season, including this point, when they played here again, because of how they kind of changed the fall scheduling to include the fall as a part of the 2023-2022 season. This was the second time they had played at the Shriner, at the TBC Summerlin rather. The second time they had the Shriners. But yeah, no, this was the second time they played at TBC Summerlin that year, for the season, and he had a tie for third finish, right in the midst of him kind of closing out his Rookie of the Year campaign. And he finished that tournament with a 62 on Sunday. So I feel like he has played a lot of great golf here. 4 under par rounds in terms of the 6 total rounds that he's played at TPC Summerlin. I'd like to see that. It just kind of seems like a matter of time before he kind of gets his first PGA Tour win anyway. He's just a very high quality player. But all this being said, I do have to acknowledge that before June, the end of June, Cole was really struggling throughout the bag. But that was mainly because of the driver and his inability really at that point in time to really create a lot of great looks off the fairway. And many of the PGA Tour courses that they play on the schedule require that you have good accuracy if you're not one of the more longer hitters on the tour. But he was able to overcome that, and ever since the Rocket Mortgage Classic, he's had 3 top 10s and 5 top 20s, which helped him kind of get back into the top 50 of the FedEx Cup. He finished 50th on the season in the FedEx Cup, so he kind of squeaked right in to get back into the designated events for 2025. But yeah, no, he's been in good form. He just had a great week statistically at the Sanderson Farms Championship, gaining a lot of strokes tee to green. He was losing strokes putting, but for that week. But still, I feel like Cole, given where he is as a putter, that's not really something I'm concerned about. It was definitely one of his worst putting starts of the season. But I don't expect that to continue because he is generally a very good putter, consistently gains strokes in that area, as well as around the green and on approach, obviously. But, the fact that he is playing so well, his irons just in that period of time where since the Rocket Mortgage, he's been consistently gaining a lot of strokes on approach. And that's something that you really like to see because it means that he's generating a lot of scoring opportunities. But yeah, no, I think Cole is in a really good position to do well this week. I would expect him to be in the mix. I really like his first round leader odds at plus 5,500. I think that's probably even a better bet than the outright price at plus 3,000. Yet, even given all that, I expect him to be in contention this week, given how he's playing and his course history here and how statistically he matches up with the key factors that you need to win at this course. Overall, I think the plus 3,000 is maybe a little bit of a steep price, but it's understandable given how good of a player he is. And I think it's, the books are acknowledging, the things that I am mentioning. But I just think that that's why they're pricing it the way they are, even though he hasn't necessarily been at his best self the entire year. But I think he's much more the player since the end of June that he was in 2023 than he was in the first half of 2024. So I really like Cole this week. I think this is a great week to kind of catch him at a high. And I think he won't disappoint. I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, just wanted to make this little podcast talking about the Shriners Open. Um, and yeah, Eric Cole. Let's hope he gets this dub. All right, talk to you guys later, and thank you guys so much for listening.